As always, how far back can you trace your family?
I don't have a family. I'm an orphan, so I know nothing about my blood relations. I only know what I was told, that I am one of the children of the cotton plantation owner's sons, who took advantage of, obviously, my mother, and therefore put me in a position of not being accepted by anybody.
And this was a plantation in South Carolina?
Yes.
And now...
St. Matthews, South Carolina.
St. Matthews?
Yeah.
I also had heard North South Carolina?
Well, we didn't know until I got a birth certificate about 6 or 7 years ago, when I decided to find a birth certificate to know what year I was actually born in, and for, if I could see if there was a name on the birth certificate that would identify a father. But we found the birth certificate through the University of, what is the name of the university? I went down, Benedict College,
right.
that I went down to do a benefit for. And as I'm always jokingly, meaningfully asking a question, or actually asking a question but meaning that I really want you to do this, and I said to the people who called me to do the benefit, well, since I'm doing this for nothing and I'm coming to South Carolina, would you have your students or someone do a research on Eartha Kitt to see if there's a birth certificate somewhere? Well, they did, and they found the birth certificate. But the birth certificate is all in the same handwriting, so the identification of a father is not real, made by the midwife.
So you think your feeling is that the midwife made it up? I mean, that she...
No, she told what she thought was the right thing to do, because if you have a white father, they protect both sides. So they don't give the identification of the father because they don't have to.
And so she put in the name...
Whatever name she thought of.
Which was Keith, something Keith Field or something...
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's Eartha May Keith. Keith. So the pronunciation of the name through centuries obviously became Kitt. But it's supposed to be a derivative of a German family, because I have gotten letters from Germany through the years that said that their great-great-great-grandparents went to America and they became farmers in that area of the world. And their name was Keith, and therefore they think that I'm one of them.
Uh-huh. And so this plantation was owned by the Keith family?
Maybe. Must be. But I don't remember that exactly what their name was, because I never talked to anybody. I never wanted to be seen. But I do remember, as I was a child, picking cotton along with the rest of the field workers, that this particular one boy of that family who used to come and pick up the bales of cotton or the big sheets of cotton at the end of the day, he was the one that was always throwing me food, nuts, or whatever was prevalent at the moment.
Throwing you food?
Throwing me. He was throwing me food, yes. Nuts and fruits and things. And always...
You throw food at an animal. You don't throw food at a person.
Well, we were treated like animals. What else were you treated like when I was a kid in the South? We were not treated like people. We were treated like, what did it say? We're supposed to be, if you have one drop of white blood in you, you're still considered, what, an animal. We were not considered, what was it? Three-quarters of yes.
Every human being.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they said the American Indians. There was nobody here. Ha 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 ha. And they called them savages. And they destroyed them. They didn't, thank God they didn't destroy all of them. But it's amazing how a group of people will come into an area of the world, destroy the culture, destroy the isms of the people, and 200 years later they go back and dig it up to find out how intelligent those people were. I never did understand that kind of thinking, but that's what you call civilization does. Kill off one culture to put in theirs, and then they realize what they've done, killing the intelligence of another person or another group of people, and then they dig it up I see so much of that on television these days because I don't read as much as I used to, even though I was an avid reader at one time. My eyes are not that great anymore, so I get tired easily reading, but I watch History Channel. It's amazing what is being shown now. The history of the other worlds that we are now finding, how intelligent they were. And nothing that is being invented today or even thought of today, it was already thought of 2,500 billion years ago. And it's like knowledge goes around in the air and all of a sudden, somebody, like Leonardo da Vinci, Dr. Einstein, George Washington Carver. Do we know as much about George Washington Carver as we should know? Not half. But it's coming out now, a lot of it. And I'm very grateful that television can be used as a school.
Now, your mother, as I understand it, was part Cherokee. We're talking about the American Indian.
That's what I was told.
And that heritage.
Yes.
Tell me what you remember about her.
I don't remember much about her. I do remember that she kept giving me away because she thought I was a nuisance because she wanted to marry someone who already had 5 or 6 children. And he said, I don't want that yellow gal in my house. So she gave me away to a family that would accept me as a working mule, but I was given away several times to a family that would use me as Cinderella.
You have no remembrance of her physically? Did you look like her? Or?
I don't remember that. I remember the woman that they sent me to in New York. They called it up north, that they sent me to. Because obviously they had written her a letter that said, if you do not take Eartha May away from that particular family, and the last family that I was given to, that she would either be worked to death, abused to death, or starved to death. That's how badly they thought I was being treated. And of course I didn't know any differently. I thought everyone was being treated the way I was being treated, except for the darker-skinned people who thought that I was not a member of the group and treated me like that. But the lady up north sent for me, and she said that she had gotten this letter from, I guess, the church people, who told them that she'd better get me out of there. And when I came to New York, which in the way I'm talking now geographically was up north, she looked like me. She had those features. She had that majestic, tall-ism about her. And she said she was my mother. But she never explained anything more than that. So I have the impression that she was the one that was taken advantage of by the plantation owner's son, and out of shame gave me away, or left me however she did, and ran away. And that's how she wound up here in New York.
Okay, so let me make sure that I'm understanding the sequence here. You were born on this plantation, or around the plantation. You lived there for several years.
Around about,
yeah.
Yes. But we always worked on that plantation.
Right. And then I read somewhere that you and your mother were forced to leave the plantation, particularly because the owner or whoever didn't want this little yellow girl running around.
No? Plantation
it wasn't a plantation.
They didn't know what anything was all about. I don't even think that they recognized the fact. That one son, though, he knew. If the rest of the family knew, I don't know. But they were not the ones that made her leave. I think people in the church realized, or who knows, but people talk. And she kept moving because everywhere she landed, they would see me, and they would say, I will take Anna Pearl, which was her child, and she was very dark. And I'd take her, but I won't take her.
So it was the reverse of the kind of what people think of as the normal kind of discrimination, in terms of the darker person is the one who's
such thing as normal.
Well,
discrimination is on both sides. You know that.
Oh yes, absolutely.
But yes.
But it's what people are historically.
Yes.
People are used to darker skinned people being the victims of discrimination.
Yes.
What we're talking about here is a very different situation. You were a victim of discrimination because you were lighter than
Yes.
the average black person in the South.
Yes. So there's discrimination within the group itself.
Absolutely. What was at the core of that discrimination? Why was it?
And they know that you're an illegitimate child. The discrimination comes from that. Not only are you illegitimate, but you're not my color. You're not one of us.